Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Okay, let's be honest, this is asinine. No one can play every video game, and I've already planned ahead 1983. There's so many games in 1983 that I'll probably spend 5 years just playing everything in 1983. So you gotta ask yourself, why am I still doing this? Why am I still going? It's because I'm just having too much fun. Welcome everyone to July 1982, where we just read Electronic Games Issue 5. Let's see what is next. It's time to go on the Atari home computer and play Shuttle Intercept. This is one we already saw on the Apple II when Casey Club Kirby was a guest. Let's take a look at the box for Shuttle Intercept. Accelerating excitement in a daring space rescue mission by John Van Ryzen. Way to go, John. Yeah, that just pretty much says a space shooter. In the other artwork we have for Shuttle Intercept, we have the ad you would have seen at the time. It's All the Rest by Hayden Book Company. That's right, where are you going to get the best video games, kids? From the book company. And there's some other games that we have seen. Bellhop, which is pretty cool. And Laser Bounce. Yeah, so we've seen a few of these. Not all of them. If you look in the back, I think they're going in order. We've seen Kamikaze, Crystal Caverns, but the ones at the top are the ones we haven't seen, like Go, Reversal, and Wargle. I don't think we've seen those yet, but we will. And we also have the 5 1/4 floppy disk you're going to pop in. You need 32K to play in your Atari home computer by the Hayden Book Company, or now they're calling it Hayden Software Company. We also have on the inside flap the way to play the game. Your mission is clear: to retrieve friendly satellites bearing vital data. Between your skyhook and those satellites lie a dozen dangers. Deceptive enemy satellites that can destroy your shuttle, lightning-fast flying saucers that disable your collecting hook, seek and destroy missiles, threatening meteors hurtling through space, and when you've barely begun to bring in your satellites, suddenly you're in hyperspace. Weapons and operative only able to dodge. You'll come out of this space encounter exhausted but ready for R&R, but you'll be back. Fire up your Atari, press the button on your joystick, and you're off on the most exciting mission of your career. Yes, we got our Atari joystick ready. You need the Atari 800 or, ooh, it says 1200. First time we've ever seen that. And 32K of memory, video monitor, and the disk drive or joystick. There's our loading instructions. The rules are there's 4 quantum levels of play, or 4 screens with a hyperspace transition between the first 3. Your shuttlecraft starts this mission with a proton shield energized. A hit with the proton shield will create an explosion and destroy your shield, but it does not count as a direct hit on your craft. Once the shield is destroyed, your shuttle is vulnerable to a direct hit. Avoid a direct hit. Just one will drain the antimatter power source and end the mission, and at quantum level 4. With no direct hits, your shuttle will jump from quantum level 4 back to level 1 and start a new mission. So pretty much you get everything back after you've died and come back again. You score points only when the shuttle is on quantum level by destroying enemy craft or enemy satellites and retrieving friendly satellites. In a hyperspace transition, all you can do is avoid being destroyed by the meteors and missiles that come after you at hyperspeed. Here's what you'll find in space: the shuttlecraft. That's what you're playing as. You push the button, the red one on your Atari VCS joystick, to open the bay doors. Push it a second time to fire the laser cannon and raise the skyhook. The enemy craft are going to look like flying saucers. They're not powerful enough to damage the shuttle, but you push the skyhook down to close the doors. Your laser cannon will destroy them and earn points. There's also friendly satellites that alternate between red and green. Catch them and you'll get points. Then we have the enemy satellite. They are dangerous, showing up at Quantum 2. They look like friendly satellites but can be destroyed by their extra antenna array. Your laser cannon destroys them, but they'll be destroyed if you make contact. You get points for shooting them down. Meteors are going to streak through randomly, and that's another one of the scenes we'll see. And then we also have missiles that'll try to track down your shuttle and destroy it. Wait until they get close, then quickly move out of the way. So you get 10 friendly satellites will fly by at each quantum level. Catch as many as you can, because that's where you get the points. You got to get the points in 1982. After 10, your craft automatically goes into hyperspace. If you take a hit during a level, even with your shield up, you'll immediately go into hyperspace transition. So here's all the breakdown of the different levels and the colors and how you're going to get all the points for each section. So there's essentially 4 different screens for this game. Now, when we played on the Apple II, I think we only saw 2 or 3. We didn't see all 4. But it's going to loop itself and then get harder and harder every time. If your shuttle has taken no direct hits from the proton shield down, you'll immediately re-enter quantum level 1. And there's our point scores, bonus points. And if you play on keyboard, why you ever would, I don't know. On the Atari, you got to play with the Atari VCS joystick. And then you can also change the screen display. The color bar at the bottom is going to show you your current level and hyperspace transition. And then other indicators right there on the screen. This is Hayden Software Company. Drop them a line if you like the game. Let's pop it and play Shuttle Intercept, imaginative system software published by the Hayden Book Company in July 5th, 1982. Now it goes right into, we are plugged in. I push the red button and there we go. We are ready to go. So you push the red button to bring your skyhook up, and where's my shots? There we go. There's our laser fire. This is playing and looking pretty close, if not identical, to the Apple II version. The only thing different that this game has compared to other side-scrolling shooters is the ability to pick up. You can see, oh gosh, they went in the meteor mode already. Look how fast the meteors go by. You use the skyhook and you pick up different things to get the points. And then, of course, you get some points for shooting ships, but it's changing the formula by having you collect things with your skyhook. Making it harder now. We got a missile following us, and it looks like one of our shields is down. Part of me feels like this is an Avalon Hill release because it's an arcade game that doesn't feel like it has all the pieces there. It's doing just enough to get by for a competent game. Oh, and that would be the enemy one. Don't pick those up. Oh, that's true. You can use those from the future. I don't know what this Genesis you speak of is. If you want Genesis, we'll give you Genesis. Let's go. Pushing the red button again, and we're in. All we know about Genesis right now is from Wrath of Khan, the hit movie right now. I just saw it in theaters, and now I'm back home on the brand new Shuttle Intercept for the Atari home computer. Interesting game mechanic, though. Whenever your skyhook is down, you have to wait until it's up in the air before you can fire. Gosh, that is so abrupt. Look at this. When the missile, you have to move fast for the avoiding. Look how fast the missiles go. Good gosh. And then the next section is the homing missiles there. So every scene, we've already seen them all. That's all the scenes that this has to offer, and then it just progressively gets faster and faster. It's a slightly mediocre rescue mission, but you're just picking up pods. I still say for Shuttle Intercept, all the games we've seen so far on a home computer, it is average. 3 stars, considering everything else. Same as the Apple II. It's still a fun time if you have the computer to play. All right, let's see what our next game is. It's time to play some Lock and Chase. Coming home for the very first time from the arcades, we last saw this in June of 1981, and here it is for the very first time by Mattel on your Atari. Yes, that's right, it's the second release for Mattel to take over the Atari rather than do just the Intellivision. Let's take a look at Lock and Chase, starting with a box. Follows the same M network motif for your Atari video game system. Oh, but look at that little chibi Lock and Chase characters. Very nice. Flip it over on the back. Has an example of the screenshot. It's got 2 players, 2 skill levels. Each player has 5 thieves. One thief robs the bank vault at a time, run into a cop, and he's caught. Plays on your Atari joystick controller, and then slam those doors. It's Pac-Man that you can close and open doors, just like in the arcade, but now at home for the first time. Let's see the other artwork we have for Lock and Chase on the Atari VCS. We went from the home computer to the VCS. How about that? Here's the ad you would have seen for M Network, unscrabbling the M Network video games. To get some fun and prizes, looks like 1,000 $2.50 coupons toward M Network cartridges. So you can get the money off. Pretty soon, these are going to be in bargain bins, and they will cost $2.50 total. I know I'm predicting the future. There's the cartridge we're going to pop in our Atari VCS with some examples of the screenshot. And we also have the manual. We are familiar with Lock and Chase. Let's see how M Network markets it. So this is 1 or 2 players, but you can't play simultaneously. It's 1 at a time. The object of the game is keep up with your thief 1 jump ahead of the police and pick up as many gold bars as you can. The police are trailing close behind. You'll need fancy footwork to dodge them. Don't get cornered, slam a door, and block their way. Keep on running. That's right. So there you go. The game, it's very similar to what we saw with the other M Network titles. And it shows you a screenshot, who you are, the police and thief. You're going around collecting gold bars, which look very similar to the dots in Pac-Man on the VCS. I wonder if they had the idea from it or just happened to be the same. Your thief picks up the gold bars, and then whenever you get all of the ones on the screen, then the door opens at the top. You go through the door, and you can escape. Push the red button, and you have a whole new set of gold bars to pick up. Points are mounting. That's right, got to get those points. And you get also extra points for picking up treasures. They appear randomly in the center of the screen, and you have to be fast. Score flashes whenever you pick them up, and then there's our controls. Hey, they actually show someone using it. Nice. Pretty easy controls as far as the Atari VCS goes. For difficulty switches, it does makes the game slower and faster. And it looks like the closer the police track the thief on the faster game. Anyone remember those difficulty switches at the top? Not every system had it, especially if you had the Sears Telegame system. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we could have gotten a lot of games for that amount of money. But that's, again, in the future. We're not going to see that yet. All right, so how do we set up the game? Like every Atari VCS game, it starts up, you pick the option you want, and then you reset the system. Move your thief around. That's it. Up, down, left, and right. It is a maze game with similar to a four-way joystick control. You can slam a door behind the thief and divert the cop's pursuit. To do this, push the red button. Doors only slam horizontally at the black lines in the corridors. There's an example of it. Very well done manual. And then there's the winning tips. Gotta love those. Don't stay around open doors for long. The police can come through here too. There's the scores, and they don't have the cool little key giving you the grid of game modes, but this one's pretty easy. 2 skill levels, 2 player. Easy. You don't really need a grid to tell you that. Oh yeah, I had the wood grain one, so I had the difficulty switches. All right, we have the version that was in Europe in PAL regions by Mattel. We also have Telegames that also released in Europe. We're going to play the first one in North America. Here's Lock and Chase by Bruce Peterson, brought over by Data East and Mattel Electronics. It's July 8th, 1982. So it begins with nothing. It's just, the game just sits there. If you do want to do 1 or 2 players, it does have this nice little icon showing you down at the bottom. This is me pushing the select switch, but it makes no difference because it's alternate play. So we're going in. Let's play some Lock and Chase. Yeah, those gold bars just make me think of Pac-Man. But I'm not getting as much flicker as Pac-Man. I'm already having more fun than Pac-Man. I know I'm giving Pac-Man a hard time, but this is a much better game to play on your Atari VCS. I'm not even closing any doors yet. You can see one of the treasures showed up, and they got me. I wasn't even using the let's lock down the doors, the whole point of the game. All right, let's keep picking some up, and you got to be a little smarter because as you move past the areas that have the doors, you need to think of where the other policemen are going to go to lock them in. And that time, I did a double take, so it locked me in and ruined it for us. But this was a very fresh, great idea for a Pac-Man variant in the arcade. Still a lot of fun to play here at home. You can see how much they simplified it considering the other titles, or considering the arcade game. Looks like only a few more gold bars left. There we go. And I think we can close it up right here unless, yeah, that policeman got us. But no problem. I'll avoid the last treasure now. The other thing is, it doesn't just end the level. Once you finish getting all the gold bars, you got to get to the top. No, they got me. Okay, they didn't close in. They move in one linear pattern, so as soon as you see them going one direction, you're good to go. There you go. That's right, we are a fugitive. We are running from the cops. Teaching kids to run away from the cops since 1982. There's one of the treasures you can pick up, and there's no power-up like Pac-Man that makes you invulnerable or turns the tables where you're, taking out the cops. I don't know how you would describe it. It's essentially you have to use the barriers to close doors to help you escape from stealing everything. That's right. You can get a little bit smarter in the way you close the doors, but you can only close two at once, I believe. Yeah, there we go. But you see how you can trap some in? And as soon as you move on to a next area, it cancels the other door out. So you can then close another one. See, didn't think that one. Done. But still a great time for your Atari VCS. Having a Lock and Chase come home is awesome. I'm going to say of all the games you could play on the home console, this is still fairly average, around 3 stars, considering everything else on all consoles everywhere, all over the world. It is a great game, still pretty average game considering the others, and here's one of the reasons why. Our very next title is...
Hello, I'm George Plimpton. Here's an easy question for you.
What do you got for us, George Plimpton?
Which of these home video games looks more like a real arcade game?
Oh, now he's doing arcade games.
Mattel Electronics?
Gee, if people had this game at home, my arcade could be in big trouble.
Or Atari Pac-Man?
Oh, look, and they're even lambasting Pac-Man in the commercial.
If you picked Intellivision, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, and everybody's already on to George Plimpton and his comparing Atari to Intellivision. And here it is, yet again, a great example of the console wars, Atari versus Intellivision. This is Lock and Chase on the Intellivision. Now, Lock and Chase was originally based on a cartoon by called Arsène Lupin by Maurice Leblanc. And whenever it was brought to Japan, whenever we played it in the arcade, and whenever we see anything else by Lock and Chase or Lupin, it's all using the same character, and there's not as much licensing involved. But whenever it was brought over to the US, you can see they made like a little chibi character, and it's not based on the exact same source material. They had to cover it because obviously they got sued by Maurice Leblanc. For this Lock and Chase, they totally changed everything, but it's by the same company. It's still Mattel. So this is a straight slap in the face of the difference between Mattel and Intellivision. Let's take a look at the box for Lock and Chase. Completely different than what we saw on the Atari. Very whimsical, kind of a throwback to being a thief in, I'm going to say, the 20s or 30s? Or one of those thieves that isn't a real thief. He's just posing to be a thief. But a very excellent front of the box. Let's flip it over on the back. Your thief's robbing the local bank. That's right, we're still playing as the thief. 4 police officers are hot on the trail. Grab gold coins and treasures on the run. Keep one jump ahead of the law. When the cops close in, lock a door. Make tracks in another direction. Run smack into a cop and you're caught. There's nowhere to hide. You get points for getting gold coins and other treasures. Look for the highest score. Start with 5 thieves and get 20,000 points and get another one. Let's see the other artwork we have for Lock and Chase on the Mattel Intellivision. This one is one of the best, most blatant differences between Atari and Intellivision. As far as the box going from, ooh, dirty and rugged to beautiful, we also have the ad you would have seen in magazines at the time. Lock out the police and grab the gold before the police grab you. Who's that guy? Is that the thief? We look totally different than on the front of the box right there. And of course, the Intellivision has to have an overlay, even though this one is so simple. All you're doing is telling if it's a 1 or 2 player game, but that's it. There's no other reason to have an overlay, just because Intellivision has to have an overlay. It's the law. And then we have the cartridge we're going to pop in, our Intellivision, with an example of the screenshot. Let's take a look at the manual for Lock and Chase on the Intellivision. Now, bear in mind, the Atari was done by Mattel. This is the system that Mattel made. I think Mattel purposely made M-Network to lambast Atari by making a cutting corners version of Lock and Chase so they could release this one as the better one on Intellivision, because I know the Atari VCS can look better. I think they're doing it on purpose, but I can't verify that argument. Oh, that's right. They did the comic for it. Yes. Yes, totally different though than the one that was the original. The old school one was, believe, in the 60s when it first came out. All right, so the object of the game is you're robbing the bank. You are. Lock the doors, throw the cops off your trail, collide with a cop, and you're caught. Keep on the run. There's some more examples of the screenshot. I love the artwork the manual has for us. Slide that overlay into your hand controller. This is one of those Intellivision games that if you didn't have the manual, you didn't have the controller, you could pop in on your Intellivision and play the game. You wouldn't need to really have it, because look at the overlay is doing. It just has the number 1 and 2, and you already know where the number 1 and 2 is. So you can, when it asks how many players, it's easy. It works great. And then it shows you the buttons how to lock the door and move your disc to take care of your thief. To begin the game, press the reset button and then choose the blue, green, or red for the fastest speed, or, oh yeah, you can do that with the disc to do the fastest one. The dot in the upper right corner indicates which speed you chose. The color matches the speed button. You can choose 1 or 2 players, and then how to play is the thief automatically enters the vault, escape doors lock shut. They can't go through either door until all gold coins are picked up. The 4 police officers begin to chase him down. Press the disc to move around. I wouldn't say it's better than the VCS. I like the joystick better than the disc on the Intellivision. The thief can dodge police by running through open side doors. When they exit through one side, they quickly enter on the other side. Be careful, don't run smack into a policeman on the other side. There's also 2 doors or 4 side doors, but only 2 are open at a time. Sometimes the top are open and sometimes the bottom are open. This changes at random, so watch out. And again, the screenshot telling us where everything is. So helpful. I love it. Oh gosh, yeah, that's really old. I was thinking 30s or 60s, but it's even way before that. Your thief picks up gold coins as they run. Once the thief's gotten all the gold coins, they're running through the top or bottom to the escape door. So essentially, the gameplay is similar or about the same as the VCS, but the quality and presentation is ramped up a lot on the Intellivision. Sometimes there's also treasures appear, and you can pick up those for extra points. If the thief collides with the police, he's caught. Action stops, and your next thief enters the vault. Game ends when all your thieves or lives are caught. The rules of the game are locking those doors, because it's lock and chase. Automatic doors are constantly locking and unlocking in the vault. They are solid green when locked and disappear when unlocked, different than the VCS. Give the cops the slip by locking doors behind you by pushing the lock button on the sides of your Intellivision controller. And this one has the more elements from the arcade, or bringing the arcade home, like automatic doors opening and closing. And the way the characters look is a lot closer. Look at that. There is the thief. You got 5 lives. We look closer than the Lupin character. They don't say Lupin here, and I think they had to take them all away. But we look closer to that character that, compared to the arcade. And then that's what the police look like. There's the money, or the extra treasures we can pick up. And they have a few tips for us, as usual in the manual. Scoring displayed at the top. And then we have point scores for all the cash bags and the treasures. We get hats, crowns, briefcases, and phones if we pick those up. And if you get 100,000 points, the game automatically sets up at the highest speed. So if you do pick the slowest speed, it eventually keeps looping and going faster and faster, as is the case for most games. All right, so we went from the Atari to the Intellivision. The Intellivision actually has a unique little Easter egg. This one has 2 versions, and you may not have known you had one version or the other. We're going to pop in and play the 6K version of Lock and Chase by Data East and Mattel in July 9th, 1982. All right, we're in. This is the first version that came out. I'm sure they were rushing it to be out about the same time as when the Atari one came out. So here we go. Let's go. Selecting 1 or 2 players, we use our numpad. I'm going to say 1 player. If you do 2 players, it's going to be still alternate play, so you're not going to get anything out of it. Okay, so one thing that's different between the 6K version and the 8K version is as you're moving around as Lupin, the disc movement is a little erratic and sometimes random, where you're not getting the best control, which is you need to have in Lock and Chase. I mean, come on. Oh, they got me already. The other thing, too, is when I died, there's no death animation. So watch again as I die as Lupin. What's terrible, though, is whether you had one version or another. Yeah, see, look, no death animation. You never would have known based on the box. There's no indication whatsoever. It's just in the ROM. So I'm going to quit this version. Don't get too attached. We're going to go to the newer version that hopefully you had in 1982, which is the 8K version. Let's see Lock and Chase on our Mattel Intellivision. Ah, that's true. There's probably was a lot of suing going on in the background. I wouldn't be surprised me if they did. All right, we're going in. So I'm going to pick again 1 player and go. Already you can see this is really close to the arcade, or closer than it was on the Atari VCS. The gold bars are shaped more like pellets like they were in the arcade. They're not dashes. Plus the characters, we actually have a multicolored, it's not really a sprite, but a multicolored character that you're playing as, with the cops chasing after you. Also, the maze is a little bit easier to handle. Oh, they got it. So that's one of the doors that locks or unlocks at certain times. Notice that when I died, I had the death animation. And I'm also getting a lot bit smoother controls when I move around. All right, we picked up the hat. Nice touch. Let's go through there. Didn't need to close that door. This is a lot more fun to play than the Atari VCS. Not just because of the character's animation, it's the maze layout and the control. If only I could plug in my Atari VCS joystick into the Intellivision and play, instead of using that disc. There you go. Deter the guards best you can. It feels really good knowing you have the control to close and open doors or manipulate the maze live. And when this first came out in the arcades, it reminded me of playing Pac-Man, but allowing you to change the maze on the fly whenever you wanted to. Also notice that the artificial intelligence of the policeman is more advanced than it was in the VCS. They were wandering pretty much aimlessly, but now they have an agenda and will even turn back different directions. Get the dollar sign, we get more animations from them there. And they got me again. Showing our lives down in the bottom right corner. It's like right there by my shoulder on the side. That's true. If you both had the same one, I'd like to know how that conversation went when they were explaining Lock and Chase. Okay, so we got the last one, and we just gotta make our way out of here. Get that door open, and let's go. They even make the top door flash when it's time to leave. Oh, great question. I'd have to look back on my notes to be sure. I believe Ladybug came out after Lock and Chase. We saw Lock and Chase pretty soon. It was one of the first variants of Pac-Man after Pac-Man was released. There's the crown, but they're in the way, and we may not get it. Yeah. The police are also patrolling a little bit better than they were on the Atari VCS. And when you get that smooth escape where you've locked the door and prevented the police from coming by, it just feels so satisfying. See, this one appears getting smart, and they have slightly different patterns too, similar to the ghosts in Pac-Man. So this feels like a better package, considering the other games you could play at the time. All right. There it is, a quick taste of Lock and Chase on the Mattel Intellivision. I gotta tell you, this one is so good. I first was gonna give it 3.5 stars, but after playing them back to back, every one of the arcade games going from to consoles usually isn't this good. This is almost up there with the quality of a home computer release, of how well it plays. Of course, it depends on which version you got out of the two of them. I'm going to say of all the games you could play on a home console, though, this one's a 4-star game. Lock and Chase is an excellent title for a home console right now. Yes, and there is different options and selections you can do within the Atari, I guess, to make it better or tweak it. But you got to admit, this is one of the biggest differences between Atari and Intellivision. The console wars continue on. Yeah, it is difficult. It takes a while to get used to. All right, let's see what our next game is. We're now going to the Apple II, and this is Gold Rush. Let's take a look at Gold Rush, starting with the box. This is another one by Sentient Software. Created with the graphics magician. Dude, are we Bear Grylls? Look at that. We are getting mauled by a bear. I just want some of that gold. Flip it over in the back. This is by Michael Berlin and Harry Wilker. Gold! You've read about it in the newspapers, heard about it from people who'd gone west and made their fortunes, and there was plenty left just waiting for you, waiting for anyone with the courage and strength to take the challenge. Sentient Software has also done Topos, if that's how you pronounce it, Cyborg, and the one we just saw, Congo. There's the ad you would have seen in magazines at the time. It's not an imitation. It's like no other game you've ever played. It's an original. And it's interesting that later there's going to be a release by Sierra called Gold Rush on the Apple II. I've been seeing this where I look up a game that's has a very similar title, and it turns out there's another game that was earlier in the 80s before it was done on the Apple II, just because there's so many games for the Apple II. And there's an example of the screenshot. It does look like it, right? It's time to hear some Gold Rush. Let's take a look at the manual or the inside sleeve for Gold Rush. We have a few cast of characters: the Miner, the Claim Jumper, the Cavalry, Indians, Bears, and TNT. Gold! You read about it from the newspapers, heard about it from people who'd gone west and made their fortunes, and there's plenty left just waiting for you, waiting for anyone with the courage and strength to take the challenge. You sold everything to raise the money for the train ticket. Does it feel like we're about to play Oregon Trail and travel out west to get gold? It is not that at all. This is a complete arcade game. So they give us a brief story and they tell us how to play. Stake your claim by picking up the TNT and place it in the mines on the left side of the screen. Avoid Indians, cavalry, and bears. They are deadly. The claim jumper will leave you alone if you aren't carrying the TNT. If you are, then you can run into the claim jumper. They'll steal it and place it back to its original location. Watch for bonus objects which appear in the Indian village. If you pick up one of them, you can stake your claim and receive bonus points. How you move is with joystick or keyboard, so plug in that Apple II joystick. If you press keyboard, it'll show you how to you can modify the keys, which is always helpful on a home computer. And then there's the points. Let's examine them for the next 20 minutes so we can get the best score. That's right. Avoid the Indians. I don't know why. We also have a bonus round. After you get 8 claims staked, you're entitled to a bonus round and given 60 seconds to work 4 mines while avoiding claim jumpers. If you succeed, you'll be awarded an extra man. Turn the speaker on and off. Oh, there it is. Sound again on the Apple II. If you want to turn it on and off, freeze the action with escape. That's your pause key, and restart. So pretty simple as far as video games go. Let's pop it and play Gold Rush. It is July 10th, 1982. Oh, that's right. We got to load it up this way. Here we go. By Michael Berlin and Harry Wilker of Sentient Software. And there we go. So we can pick joystick or keyboard. I got it plugged in. Let's do it. Pushing J for joystick. Let's go get that gold. You do have to do a little bit of imagination for this game. Oh my gosh, I'm looking like I'm looping again. Take a look at the right side of the screen. I'm a face with a hat on top. That's really bizarre. I didn't plan that. But we already got taken out by one of the Indians. Avoid the Indians! All right, let's go down here to the bottom. So it's enemies are placed around the screen, almost like we're playing a maze game, but there's no maze. It's just movements wherever you want to go. I can only move, though, in the 4 cardinal directions. No 8-way movement. And you just have to monitor and see where the enemies are, follow their patterns, and then grab a TNT, make yourself to the left side of the screen. Once you've made your TNT and staked your claim, then you're good. Let's grab that shovel. Oh, I missed it. So this is not an adventure game like you thought. This is not an educational game like you thought. I thought lots of things. I was not expecting an arcade-style game like this, but a very original one. Oh, it's already game over. Okay, we'll go again. Pushing the joystick to play again. So they move the TNT around randomly. The enemies still follow pretty much the same pattern. If you got it down, let's take it out. Oh, see, the claim jumper got it and brought it back, the TNT back. He got me. There you go. If you make it to the left side with the TNT, then you stake your claim. Let's see if we can get all the TNT placed on the left side. There you go. So just memorizing the patterns is key, but it's still a pretty fun game for the time. Of all the games you could play on a home computer, at least. There we go. One more to go. Now I'm going to take the TNT and go down. Let's see if the claim jumper... Nope, he avoided me. Got it. And if we got the shovel, does that mean we get credit? No, we just go to the next screen. Okay, after you do 8 successful rounds, then it brings you to a bonus round. Still a really good time for a 1982. Not pushing the boundary, but just you can tell it programmed very well. That's a good point. It does feel like we're playing Frogger going from right to left. We have to pick up something on the way, like our froggy girlfriend or whoever it was in the in the arcade game, and then you make it to the other side. We just don't have as much limitations. We have freedom of movement, at least in the 4 cardinal directions. Nope, avoid the Indians. We went in their territory. They didn't like that. So we have one more TNT at the top. Let's see if we can make this go in here. Avoid the claim jumper with the googly eyes. There we go. Now we get the bonus round. Pick them all up and go. Good point, Manly. If it had shooting, it'd be something else. I'm pushing the button on my joystick on the the Apple II, but nothing's happening. It is just movement, almost like it's meant to be a Pac-Man style game, control-wise. So here's our bonus round. We just have to get past the claim jumpers, get the TNT on the left side. So there's no Indians or other enemies. It's just these characters, and that's it. Can we do it? Bonus rounds counting down. 30 seconds still on the clock. Feels like I'm playing a follow down. There we go. 18 seconds. We can do it. If you think that's ear-shattering sound effects, tune in to our last episodes. We've heard so many ear-shattering things. Yes, with 4 seconds to spare. Awesome. And there we go. It repeats as the usual. So there you go. That's Gold Rush. Go ahead and throw your ratings in for all the games we've seen up to this point. What do you think? Is this an average game for all the computer games you could play? Is it an above average game, an excellent game? Or is it one of the best computer games you could play? I wouldn't go that far. I'm going to say of all the computer games you could play, Gold Rush is a fairly average affair for the time. It does well to have 2 different screens or the bonus round, but I'd be hard-pressed to say maybe 3.5 considering the other games, but it's still around the average range. It is blending together elements of other things. I see Victor's thrown out 3. I'm with you. I'm going to say 3. It's starting to heat up this year in 1982. Everything's going to get bigger and better. Hardware's going to improve. And after everything we played so far, this feels like a solid 3. Yeah, that's true. Lacks variety. I'm with you. All right, now let's go to our next game. Oh man, I'm so excited. This is Pole Position, the very first release in Japan. Let's go to the arcades in Japan and play some Pole Position. The first thing I want to show you, everyone, is the different types of advertisements they had for Pole Position. This is the remake or the re-release of what they took in Japan and brought it over. This is awesome. They literally took the screen and showed you how cool it is. This is how good the game is and the graphics, and just plopped it right there on the advertisement flyer. It's so good that they have no qualms to make any art. The game is speaking for itself. Truly impressive. And then down there in the left corner is what I'd love to have in my house, the sit-down Pole Position cabinet, the one you can actually drive. And then on the back of the advertisement flyer, it shows you some different screens, showing you the explosion, if you finish first on the track, and then all the specifications for the operator or whoever bought the system. This is so cool. Pole Position is incredible. There's the front of the advertisement flyer when it came to North America by Atari, or a few other regions by Atari. It was originally done by Namco and published by Namco. Here's the original. So in all Japanese glory, that's exactly what you would have seen, and then they just had a translation that we saw earlier. Look at that. So good. That's right. Somehow there is a Saturday morning cartoon of Pole Position. Did anyone see the Saturday morning cartoon with Pole Position in it? That's how big the game is. You flip over it on the back, and we have lots of more information. Oh, man, all the Japanese makes me just want to... It's so good. I just want to play this game all night now. I don't want to leave Pole Position ever. It explains a few things about the game itself, laps, and so forth. There's the two different arcade cabinets. We have the upright version, which is still a great time. You have the wheel, you have the gear shifter, just high and low gear with pedals down below. But the real one is that one, the sit-down cabinet. Look at the artwork. It just screams quality. It is a staple for the arcade, something that every arcade should have. Man, I want to go right now and play some Pole Position. And there's arcade PCB. Something fun about this one, it's famous for the power input connectors and the finger contacts burning up on this PCB. So this game is so hot that it was literally burning the PCBs up. Is that because they were pushing the hardware too far? I'm not sure. And then for control panels, there is the upright with the wheel and gear shifter going high and low. And yeah, there it is again, a little bit cleaned up. Still grimy, but I love it. We have the brake, the gas, and your gear shifter and the wheel, and that's all you need. There's our arcade marquee for Pole Position. Just classic. Man, it looks so good. Marketing did a fantastic job on this one. The artwork is both slightly cartoonish. We were talking about the Saturday morning cartoon, but it's also just screams quality because this game, look at this, the screenshots. If you saw this in the arcade when it first came out, it's one of the best things you could have seen in a video game. And we also have the manual or operator's manual that when they ported it over by Atari in North America, this is what we would have seen. And Atari's manuals for operators are so good. They always have lots of information for it. We should have had more cigarette burns, right? All right, what do they tell us about the game? We'll breeze by the table of contents. We don't need to know about how to assemble it. We don't need to know about not how to shock ourselves. It does show us how to use the manual and different features. If it talks about upright cabinet, sit-down cabinet, or the Ireland-built cabinet. There's something specific about the Ireland-built one. Why do they have to determine the Ireland-built one is different? There's all the different parts for your cabinet. We are not assembling any arcade cabinets here on Chronologically Gaming. Here's the new features. Atari always brings them up. We have the electromagnetic cage and the US cabinets, American-made corn door, the steering wheel control. They're saying that's one of the newest, coolest things. Now, this isn't brand new. This concept of a steering wheel has been around since the 70s. But as far as Atari doing this, they're trying to make it as realistic as possible. They have also the foot pedal control, metal attraction panel for sit-down cabinet, and then the quadraphonic sound in the sit-down cabinet. 4 4-ohm, 6-ounce high-fidelity speakers under the control panel, 2 behind the seats, surround the player with exciting, realistic sounds of Grand Prix racing, which means, sadly, I can't give you that full experience. It won't be as good. Yes, that's right. This was on the Starcade. I have a few clips we'll be checking out of those later. Oh, it's amazing. Yes, welcome. Thank you, thank you. Inspecting the game, we don't need to do that one. We need to know how to play the game. You need to level that cabinet, yes. Locating the switches, got it. Setting the option switches, Dip switches in the back, you bet. I wonder if they have any is there anything actually explaining how to play the game? There we go. Pole Position is a one-player game using color raster scan video display. It takes place at the Fuji Speedway in Japan. The country around the speedway consists of green meadows, hills, and snow-capped Mount Fuji. Fuji? Did I say Fiji or Fuji? Fuji. The player drives a Formula One race car on the Fuji Speedway. Player controls consist of a steering wheel, 2-position gear shifter, an accelerator, and brake pedals on the sit-down cabinet, and the accelerator only on the upright. Got to do the sit-down. The object of the game is finish the qualifying lap as quickly as possible. If the player beats the clock, they qualify for the Grand Prix at Fuji Speedway. If not, they drive out the remainder of the time along the qualifying course. As a qualifier, the driver is ranked according to their qualifying lap time, from position 1, the pole position, to position 8. The player then races against the clock and other cars to finish the 4 laps of the race as fast as possible and achieve the highest score possible. The player earns points for passing cars, driving on the track, finishing the race with time remaining. So even though this is doing a time-based lap game, they still have points because it's 1982. Pole Position has 4 modes of operation, and this is usual for different arcade cabinets. Attract mode, giving people to attract them to the arcade cabinet. The play mode, the high score mode, and I think, did I say all 4? Oh, and they even have hints. Atari is awesome. Atari is always about the hints. Avoid puddles, got it. Accelerate and stay ahead, got it. Stick on the inside to make corners. Successful completion of a turn depends on braking skill, and then when sliding, steer into the skid. Got it. So that's all the information they have to tell us about the game. We're going to Japan, and we're playing some Pole Position by Namco, originally by Namco in Japan, and then Atari in North America. It is July 12th, 1982. Gentlemen, start your engines. If only the sound was surround.
Prepare to qualify.
I will. Let's go. The only other game that even comes close to this was Turbo by Sega in the arcades. But even then, this viewpoint is what's classic. This gives you a real sense of speed. This gives you a better angle to see ahead. And notice that the scaling, which is already very, very fresh, still fresh up to this point. Ooh, yeah, watch out for the Pepsi sign. And they also have, did you see Marlboro? Yeah, we got cigarettes that people were smoking while they're playing the game, burning into the arcade cabinets. They better not have. Yeah, some of the best sprite scaling we've seen thus far. We did it! What did we get? Oh, we got position 7. We didn't do so good, but we did qualify. So now we're in position 7. Here we go. I took off on the wrong gear. Let's try it again. Going now. Nice and easy. You have to imagine this is in the arcade, so you are turning a wheel left and right to play. But man, it looks so good. I really enjoy how your car just explodes on anything. You touch a car, you explode. You run into a sign, you just explode into a giant fire. There's no in between. Oh, there's some puddles. The only difference between this in Japan and when it was ported over to North America is on the prepare to qualify screen they have, oh, we missed it at the time. Whenever you, I'm just going to go through triple A's on my score. There's an Atari symbol that you can see on the front, and that's the only difference. Pretty much this game is identical to what they had in Japan. I mean, you're thinking, wait, it was all in English, but that's true. Everything was the same. The only thing they changed was the Atari logo right in the beginning. Oh, and we will be seeing Turbo on the Coleco, I think, pretty soon. At least around by the time summer ends. That's true. Every sign on the track. All right, so I want to show you off some different artwork that was available for Pole Position. Besides this, we have the upright artwork, but this includes everything. This is the arcade marquee, what you saw around the CRT, obviously the wheel, and then you can see there's our gear shifter going low to high. Nice touch with the gauges, even though they really weren't impacting what was on the game. It was just there for the aesthetic to make you feel you were driving. But the best way to get the driving experience was the sit-down cabinet. Now, this is the inside cockpit that you would have seen, similar to the artwork we were just displaying, where the Pole Position has that light blue look. still gear shifter down on the side, but this is the one you'll be sitting in and have the surround sound. Highly recommend that if you can get that one. Oh, really? And we also have some other artwork that includes what Namco was advertising at the time. So nice. Love the way that looks. And then we also have, this would be like the look for the information of how to play. They have the whole Fuji Speedway on the left side, instructions, qualifying run, extended play, and so forth. And this is what you would have seen in the sit-down cabinet to the left. And then, of course, we got the gear shifter right here above my shoulder. You can barely see where it is. Oh, yes. This is the beginning of, like, the sit-down. Well, to put it this way. Arcade games like this have been around from a first-person perspective since the 70s. So we've already seen wheels and driving for video games since the 70s. And we've also seen games that do this lap, trying to get to the best time for laps. What pole position does is it's changing, it's taking elements from the other racing games and cranking up to the next level. One big thing is this perspective. This is going to be copied and used even to this day of having this view from a car. This is the very first video game we've seen from this view. The closer one's turbo, but it's more of a higher up. Doesn't really give you the best scope of the speed, but this one does. Plus, you can see the sprite scaling is some of the best we've ever seen for any video game. So the graphics really put you there as that car. Wow. Amazing. All right, let's go in again. And we're starting back at the beginning. Got to qualify. Just like she said. It is so much fun, so fast. There it is. We got it. What position do we get? Fourth. That's much better. Go, 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 quick. Oh, I should have started in low. That's right. Need to start low, then go high. The first time I ever played pole position, that's what I did. I liked to run into the cars to see the explosion. And crashed into the Namco sign. It's awesome. I really love how there is cigarette ads that we're driving by. And this is what all the kids saw whenever they were in the arcade. All right, so there you go. A quick taste of what I'm going to say as the best video game you could play thus far. We usually rate them by arcade games, but of all the video games, this one is cream of the crop, top of the top. I'm going 5 stars for Pole Position. It hits all the marks. It is one of the seminal releases that shows you what racing games can do, and it marks the beginning of this arcade battle between Sega and Namco, and some other companies too, but I know we got the console wars. This is the beginning of the arcade wars right here. Yep, I knew you'd be with me on that one, Victor. All right, so after Pole Position, let's continue on playing every video game. We're going to hang out in Japan a little bit longer, and we'll be right after this commercial break. Here's what they're playing on their home console in Japan. Those guys are just too cool. This is the Epoch Cassette Vision, the very first interchangeable, well, one of the very first interchangeable cartridge consoles in Japan. And this one never came to North America. Most of these games are extremely hard to come by, and you can't play them. If you look back on the other games we've seen so far, we didn't even play these games. I just showcased and showed you a little gameplay. But this one is different. This is PakPak Monster on the Epoch Cassette Vision. All we have for this one is the front of the box. So right there is all we got. Another very obscure release, hard to come by release, but on a console that is about to get overshadowed by a few companies called Nintendo and Sega next year in 1983. But before that, this is where they shine in Japan. Let's pop it and play PakPak Monster. It's July 13th, 1982. Here we go. So going from the Atari VCS to the cool or hot console in Japan is a jarring experience. This is a Pac-Man clone, but it doesn't really play or look much like a Pac-Man clone. Is it really a maze? I don't know for sure. Let's go. Am I in here? Yes, there we go. So PakPak Monster isn't really even programmed to play with a joystick on the Epoch Cassette Vision. This is programmed to use 4 buttons like the direction up, down, left, and right. So you do have fine-tuned controls because they're a button, but essentially you're moving around as Pac-Man on this pseudo-maze, collecting these icons, dots, pieces. And they change colors after you collect them a few times until eventually they go away. I put a filter on this that is extremely scanlining the console. If you were in Japan, you'd be playing this on RF modulation, so you would have had a lower screen quality, but I did this just for fun because it's the very first time we were able to play a Epoch Cassette Vision game. That's right. Yeah, this is a very low-res system. Pixel height and depth is very reminiscent or similar to the Atari VCS. But the problem is, this one uses transistor to transistor logic. So it's a completely different, you don't even have a true microprocessor in the system. What Epoch did was backwards. This game has the logic and all the information on the cartridge, and the cassette is the opposite side of the ROM. You know how usually when you plug a ROM in, the connector is the part on the system, and then the cartridge slots into it? It's backwards here. On the Epoch Cassette Vision, you're plugging up, it feels like you're plugging up into the cartridge. It's very bizarre. If you do get a chance, check out Jeremy Parrish. He's currently doing a series on the Epoch Cassette Vision, and he will be getting to this one. And I'm going to be including a link for the video game Kraken down below. I wouldn't have had the information or the ability to find or get this game without that website. It's so jarring, though, going from what we were playing in North America to this, considering this is what was the hot, cool thing in Japan. Or the newest in Japan. There we go, so we picked them all up. Sounds like we're playing a cartoon. I would love to know, everyone from the chat, is this Pac-Man game better or worse than the Atari VCS Pac-Man? Did we finally find a Pac-Man that's worse than the Atari, or is this better? I'm on the fence, because while I'm able to play, I'm using 4 buttons on the Epoch Cassette Vision. It's not even a real joystick I'm playing on, but the control to move around works well enough. But it doesn't feel like I'm playing Pac-Man. This feels like it's way too simple, and there's not any nuance. I can't warp around the screen. There is a power up to turn the tables and have you attack the enemies, but it doesn't give you, I guess, as much fun. Also, notice how Pac-Man or PakPak Monster is turning to the right. It reminds me of us playing the Pac-Man Coleco. He doesn't turn up or down. See how he's mostly facing one direction, like the silhouette of a PakPak Monster. Oh, the blinking does it. Okay. So you do get the power up. You can go around, but yeah, there is no ghosting. The ghosts aren't ghosting. No one in Japan's trying to sell the kids, well, they're supposed to flicker, they're ghosts. It's a better Pac-Man experience, or whatever they said to those kids at the time. Considering every game we've seen so far for a home console, this one does not stack up. There is going to be better ones coming out in Japan, but so far, for this compared to every other thing that's available for a home console, PakPak Monster is a unique experience just because we're able to play it, of what it's like to play the game. Any Pac-Man variant's always welcome here, but I gotta say, we rated of all the consoles, or all the games you can play on a home console for Pac-Man, we gave it 2 stars. It was in the bad range, considering everything else. For PakPak Monster, because it's so limited with the map, it's even more simplistic than the VCS, but that's true, there is no flickering, and it does have relatively well done colors, considering the console. I'm still going to say it's a bad game if you think of all the other consoles games you could play out there. Yes, I'm going to go 1.5 stars for PakPak Monster. I consider this the worse than the Pac-Man on the Atari VCS. Believe it or not, we found a contender worse than Pac-Man. Alright, and with that, it's time to put our video game playing on pause and play another day. Tune in next episode for the latest release by SSI, and is your bird brain ready for the newest arcade release? That's it for today, and like I always say, it can't get any better than this. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are Perpetually Retro, and we will catch you next time.